I'm Michelle Onifray with International Mountain Connection. Thank you for joining me today. Welcome to What is the Slope of the Slope? Before I forget, this video will be uploaded to the IMC YouTube channel. So if it's difficult for you to understand and you would like to see captions and download a transcript, that will be available on YouTube. And I'll make sure to put a link in the website and also on the Facebook page so you can watch the video again. So when don't know the definition of a word, we use something called context clues. You know what? I just realized I didn't remember to put in my earphones. Hold on just a second. So sorry. Okay, so when we don't know the meaning of a word, we look at clues to help us understand the definition. And the problem with this question is that we use the word slope 2 times. So it's difficult to see what could be the 2 different meanings. So I'm going to tell you the 2 different definitions, and you can think about where you think each definition goes. So are you ready? The first definition. So a slope is the surface on a mountain that can be used by skiers or snowboarders to go down the mountain. So here I have a map of one of my favorite ski resorts, and you can see there are different slopes. There are slopes, there are slopes, and there are black slopes. So when we talk about these kinds of slopes, they can also be called ski runs or ski pistes. And sometimes we just take off the word ski entirely and we just say slope, run, or piste. So that's the first way that we use the word slope. The second definition is when we're talking about a surface, and if this is the surface and it goes up a little bit, there's a difference between the top and the bottom, we call this a slope, okay? And if it's horizontal, meaning it's flat, it means that there isn't any kind of a slope. However, if it's moving up just a little bit, we'll call that a gentle slope or a shallow slope. So imagine you're walking, you're hiking, you're still able to talk, you understand that you're going up a little bit, but it's not too difficult. But we can also talk about a slope, and it's actually like this, and that's a steep slope. And when we say it's a steep slope, that means that when you're walking or you're skiing, you're having difficulty maybe talking to the other members of your group. It's more strenuous. And when we measure a slope, there are several different ways that we can do that. And we can use the angle, or we can use the percentage. For example, when we talk about the risk of avalanche, you hear people talk about the angle of the slope. So if it's less than a 25-degree angle, we believe that there is less of a risk of avalanche. But when we're talking about biking, especially when we're talking about the Tour de France, or people are mountain biking and you're having to go uphill, people ask about the percentage. They say, what is the percentage of the slope? They want to know how hard it is. So it can be confusing, and when I hear people talk about ski slopes, I've heard both percentages and angles being used. So that can be confusing. If you're talking about slope, just make sure that you are using the same system of measurement, or else you're not going to understand each other. So there are other ways that we can say slope, and we could say the gradient or the grade. It might be mentioned as the tilt or the incline or the rise, but all of that is talking about this difference in height from the top to the bottom. So based on these definitions, which definition of slope is used where? So what is the slope of the slope? So the first slope is talking about the gradient or the angle. And the second slope that they're talking about is this, like a ski run or a ski piste on the mountain. So really what the question is asking is, what is the angle of the ski run? But it's perfectly fine to say what is the slope of the slope. It's just a little bit confusing. But like I said, there's actually a third way that we talk about the slope on the mountain. And when we're talking about the slope, if we're just talking about this arrow, this represents the direction of travel. And if the slope, we're saying that this is the slope, follows the same direction of travel, this is a running slope. But you can have another slope that's actually like this. And so it's perpendicular to the direction of travel. So you're still going down this way, but the surface is also tilted or sloped slightly to the side. And this type of slope here, this is called a cross slope. So if we apply this to a mountain setting, imagine that you have your mountain and you have your slopes. And most of the time these slopes are going from the top to the bottom. It might vary a little bit like this, but it's pretty much standard stuff. Sometimes, however, you have a slope that goes sideways or it traverses the mountain. And when you have a slope that traverses the mountain, it could be a man-made slope where they did a lot of earthworks, or it could just be a road that's normally used in the summertime to be able to get to the top of the mountain, but in the wintertime, it's used as a ski slope. So the problem is you have watershed or water that falls down from the mountain, and you have this slope here, and you don't want the slope really to be moving too much inwards towards the mountain, because then you're going to have a ditch and you're going to have a lot of water running through. You're going to end up with a river. And so you want the water still to be able to run down, but you also don't want your ski slope to be really steep like this, because then people are going to slide off the ski slope and fall down the mountain. So you're going to have your running slope, and you're also going to have a little bit of a cross slope like this. So these are 3 different ways that we can use the word slope. We have the slope that's like a ski slope, ski run, or ski piste. You have slope where you're talking about this angle here, the difference between the upper section and the lower section of a surface. And then you have the cross slope, which is this perpendicular slope to the direction of travel. So I hope that this helps you see how we can use slope in several different ways. And remember that this will be uploaded onto YouTube. So if you need to watch it with captions or download the transcript, you can. I apologize in the beginning that I didn't have my earbuds in. I hope that there's enough sound that you can understand me. But we learn, right? You know, first time going on live for Facebook for one of these things. So next time we'll do better. But thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And remember, Brian isn't in the kitchen. He's in the mountains. Bye.